get caretaken?
I got care took.
You got took?
I got took.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Lewis Midas.
And this is the Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I don't know if I'd say I loved it, but I liked it. But you loved it.
I loved it. I actually think I liked it better than Listen.
Ooh, wow.
I know. And especially this is surprising for me because even though I sort of remarked how I was excited, I wasn't really excited. Like, I mean, I was excited, but I wasn't like I wasn't expecting something marvelous, I guess. And that was what I felt I got, was something quite special.
Well, what is it that you really liked about it then?
I don't, you know what, it was kind of this, to me, what I sort of got out of it was, you know, it sort of seemed like this perfect melding of just like this sort of coming together of all these sort of separate threads, and kind of like, I don't know, like it was interesting because it sort of felt like this was like the perfect way to bring all these characters together, and, you know, to sort of introduce Danny Pink to the Doctor, and Doctor to Danny Pink, and sort of like, as I was watching it, I kind of finally felt like I really truly understood the dynamic here, and what all these characters wanted, and, like, you know, what all their motivations were, and sort of, I don't know, I feel like it's finally been like nailed down, like how all these characters should feel, and just, I don't know, it was just like this really great, to my mind, it was this really great just way to like really solidly define all of who I think will be the you know, the important characters for the rest of the season, and sort of, I don't know, I feel like now I have like a really, really good solid sense of like where we're going, and like kind of like what I can expect, like as like an emotional arc or whatever for the season. And I feel like it just kind of really like hit everything. I don't know, it just like hit all the right notes, I guess. And on top of that, it was a pretty fun adventure. And it also, and like, I don't know, I'm making it sound kind of like it was like some sort of heavily dramatized or whatever, or there's just like a heavy amount of drama or whatever. But, like, you know, there's a lot of like humor and lightheartedness to it too, or at least, you know, it seemed like it. I guess
that's fair. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I don't know. I don't think it was like fake
lightheartedness. Yeah, not merely seemed, but I think.
Well, it's, you know, and
I think we can go ahead and confirm that it was indeed lighthearted.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got that. But yeah, no, I just feel like it hit all the notes, touched all the bases. Whatever else it might have needed to do, I feel like it. I don't know. I feel like it did, and it was just it really. I don't know. I just really liked how it sort of handled everything, I guess, and I feel like it kind of ran the risk of being too much like The Lodger,
right?
Because, you know, it is kind of a similar concept, but it didn't, and it was a different sort of. It was a different sort of. I mean, like, the whole undercover thing was kind of the same, but. You know, the sort of problems of being the problems between the characters, and the sort of tension there is completely different. And there's not like, it wasn't like this was an episode about the Doctor trying to fit in like The Lodger was. And so, you know, it didn't really run a real risk of that at all. And you know, and it was, I don't know, it was really, I don't know. I liked it, and I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering whether this is going to be basically like the Lodger Part 3.
Right.
And I think in some ways it kind of was, but for the most part it really wasn't, because if you look at both the Lodger and Closing Time, I mean, Amy is barely in either of those episodes. Mm-hmm. She's in both of them, but in the Lodger she's cut off from the Doctor for most of it, and then in Closing Time she's just in a terribly brief cameo.
Right.
Whereas this is not standalone in that way. It's more very much tied into like the sort of ongoing stuff of the season. So it does feel a little bit more like it's being used as sort of like a pivot point halfway through, as opposed to just sort of like a one-off digression.
Yeah.
But yeah, I overall I really liked it. I thought for the most part it was very funny. I thought a lot of the character stuff was very well done. I'm not sure how much I like the way some of the relationship stuff is shaping up. Like I kind of feel like the whole like the Doctor and Danny Pink kind of fighting over Clara is not. I don't think that's all that interesting. It's kind of off-putting, I find. I just think it's like the idea is that she's apparently supposed to be some kind of quote-unquote control freak. But really, they both kind of seem like control freaks, where they're like, well, how come you never told me about him? Whereas, like, well why should she? But yeah, so I kind of feel like both of them are being kind of assholes in that regard. So, and I guess that's not the way I was kind of hoping things were going to go. But for what it is, I mean, it's done really well, and it's really sold really well throughout the episode, which is it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's definitely sold.
Yeah, that was probably my only misgiving about this episode, that I thought that the way they were setting that up was kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit too much like the Ninth Doctor and Mickey.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. But, well, yeah, and to be honest, I was no, I guess not like super surprised, but like I was kind of expecting it to sort of be, well, and I guess it's not really even. I don't know what I was expecting, because it just to me it's like what I guess the one thing that I thought would happen that didn't happen. Well, there's a lot of things I thought would happen that didn't happen, but one of them was I thought that it would end with Danny like joining them. I don't know why I thought that. It just kind of felt like in my mind that's kind of like where I anticipate that going. Maybe that's just because of Rory and how he sort of joined the TARDIS crew. But it doesn't look like that's gonna happen.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily need to be officially established here.
True.
Since every trip is a one-off.
Right.
So he could potentially come along next week. He didn't. I don't think he was in the trailer.
No, he didn't look like it.
But that doesn't mean he's not in it.
That's true. Well, yeah, and I guess it was kind of more just like the final scene with him and Clara, where the discussion seemed to be kind of like, well, if it ever gets too much, you need to tell me or whatever, and like I interpreted that to mean like he doesn't have any interest in coming along, but he wants to sort of be kept in the loop about stuff and what's going on or whatever.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. So maybe he's not going to end up being a companion. I don't know. That would be kind of interesting, I guess, because I think when the character was first announced, the assumption by a lot of people was that he was going to be a companion and a romantic interest for Clara, one of which turned out to be correct.
Right.
And the other which may yet turn out to be correct at some point, but hasn't yet.
Right. Well, yeah, and that could very well be, that could be another kind of arc thing that they go on, is, at first he doesn't want to come along, but then something changes his mind, or he decides that he needs to for some reason, or whatever. And so that yeah, we might have not seen that yet. That we could be getting there. So,
but I wonder if, on the other hand, Courtney's going to become a companion.
Well, yeah, because she seemed to get sick. So, but once you get over that initial time sickness, I'm sure you can sort of handle it from then on. But yeah, it's well, right, because it's weird though that it does seem like the doctor just kind of like took her along for this garbage job or whatever. His garbage dump.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Yeah. So, and I don't think the doctor tends to do that. I mean, generally when he's bringing someone along, it's come help, or come see the wonders of the universe with me or whatever. It's not usually like, hey, come help me throw out this piece of garbage. So yeah, that's definitely different. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird that it's just this little scene. I don't know. Maybe I do wonder what impact psychologically this will have on Courtney. I wonder if she'll change her ways and stop being a disruptive influence.
Yeah. I wonder.
You never know. Now that she knows that, apparently every caretaker has a box that can travel in time and space.
Yeah.
And has a policeman inside. The scene in the like the auditorium or whatever, where it's revealed that the doctor and Clara are time travelers or whatever. That scene kind of really reminded me of An Unearthly Child, and that sort of not necessarily like the same sort of. I don't know. It was like kind of like the dynamic, I guess, because Clara's talking to the doctor about stuff that's going over Danny's head, and it's he's just sort of trying to figure out what's going on, and he's kind of stumbled in on this.
Yeah, it's like a whole, oh great, he stumbled in, now what are we going to do about this kind of situation.
Right. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and I don't know if that was deliberate at all. I guess there's no way to there's probably not any other way to do that kind of thing, or I don't know, for the story that kind of was a good scene and sort of was a good way to sort of, I don't know, reveal that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it worked really well. I don't know whether it was deliberate. I was actually surprised by how few deliberate references there were to the past.
That's true.
Because everything that happened in the school, it didn't really matter all that much that it was Coal Hill School. It just happened to be a school.
Right.
I think the doctor mentioned something about how there's a lot of Artron energy because of stuff that's happened over the years.
Oh, is that what that was referring to?
I think that's just supposed to be a reference to the fact that the school has appeared multiple times before.
I see.
And actually in Remembrance of the Daleks, which was from season 25, the doctor gets offered the position of caretaker. Or no, he doesn't get offered the position. Like he arrives at the school and someone thinks he's there to interview for the position of caretaker. So he eventually ended up getting it, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. So that in and of itself, I guess, is something of a reference. But for the most part, it was just wacky adventures in a school.
That's true. Yeah. There wasn't really much of a reference at all. And I guess it's. I kind of wonder if the doctor even even recognizes it, like even remembers that this is a significant school, like, because I mean, obviously, like he doesn't. I don't think he mentions anything about like, oh yeah, I used to know some teachers here, or like, hey, oh yeah, my granddaughter.
This is where I sent my granddaughter.
Right, those seem kind of significant. You'd think he'd remember those things. I mean, and it could be that he does remember them. He's just choosing not to talk about them out loud.
Well, and one thing is the sign, the sign outside the school still says, and this was seen on the sign in the Day of the Doctor, but the sign outside the school still says that the head of the Board of Governors is I. Chesterton.
Oh, yeah.
So he may still be around. And I was wondering at the time, actually, whether the doctor, I don't know, pulled some strings to get her the job or something. But that's never been referenced, so I'm guessing it's not the case.
Right.
And it's probably just a big coincidence.
Well, right. And that's kind of a neat reference, but it does sort of leave you to wonder, like, well, could we see Ian again? Could that be a thing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's actually there was a line in the Sarah Jane Adventures which suggested that Ian and Barbara had never aged since the 1960s for some reason.
Huh.
or which suggested that Sarah Jane had heard a rumor about it.
Huh.
It's like a list of like she starts rattling off some rumors she's heard of what happened to previous companions of the Doctor. So since it was stated as a rumor, I mean, it could be overturned, and I would hope that if there's a reason we haven't seen Ian, I hope it's not that. I hope it's not like, oh well, can't do this because the Sarah Jane Adventures said they never age, and obviously, I mean, he's aged, so
Right, yeah. Well, yeah. I would, because I feel like Stephen Moffat has never let things that have happened in other media stand in the way of what he wants,
or even in the show itself.
That's true. Yeah. So
I know there's a group of fans who kind of hate when Moffat kind of like sticks his fingers into the show's past and puts his mark on it. Like, all of a sudden, Clara's the reason he took the TARDIS. Clara, inspired him in Listen, and there's all kinds of stuff that he ends up sort of digging up and then making his own. That doesn't bother me at all, personally.
Well, yeah, and I feel like, that doesn't. I have a lot of things I can be bothered about. That's just so low down on my list of things that could bother me. I mean, like, I can sort of see the position, though. I mean, it is kind of, I don't know. People do, I don't know. There's a lot that you can sort of, I don't know.
If you're inclined to be upset about that kind of thing, there's plenty of that kind of thing for you to be upset about.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I guess the thing is, it's not that, and it's not like the show has ever said that the Doctor, picked the TARDIS because of something else. Like, it's just never established, kind of why.
Right. Well, I think it's less about like contradiction and more about like people who dislike Moffat are like, he's got to be all over everything. It's got to be like he's got to shove his own ego into every corner of the Doctor Who mythology. It's like, I don't really care about that because I just like watching Doctor Who, and the fact that it's, even if it were true that it was Moffat's sick fetish to like paint his own face all over everything in Doctor Who, that doesn't come through in the episodes. In the episodes, it's just a neat thing that happens.
Well, right, because I do kind of appreciate that someone who may not know anything about this kind of stuff, and all the just like the little things from the past, I kind of like that that the show brings those up and sort of just, even if they're just like little random references, I kind of like that it's sort of, even if it is sort of like changing your perspective on what it was that happened, it's still bringing to the fore that it happened, and like that there was all this cool stuff that happened, and and you might not, if you've only watched the new series, you may not know all this, and hear some cool stuff, and I don't know, I certainly don't mind it. And I mean, like, the stuff, especially the stuff with like the Doctor as a kid, like, I think that's interesting, and I don't ever want to explore it fully, but I do like the idea that there was like all this stuff that happened when he was a kid, and we don't know about it, and and I mean, that was kind of hinted on in the past with like I'm not sure specifically what was talked about, but I know that in the Russell T Davies era, like, the Doctor does mention his childhood, and I guess that's in reference to the Master and knowing the Master from his childhood, maybe. And so there is they are kind of implying that stuff happened, and I don't know, I don't mind seeing a tiny little piece of that. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's generally how I feel too.
Yeah, it would take a lot for me to hate something, and it like or just, I don't know, just it would take a lot for me to view something as just the showrunner showing off. Like, well, that's too stupid to be in Doctor Who. This is clearly just someone stroking their ego. I don't know. I mean, you could say that about a lot of things, but I tend to not think along those lines.
And you know what? You're probably better off for it.
I like to think so.
So one thing in the trailer for this episode, when it aired last week, people picked up on the fact that in the scene in the teacher room, one guy just kind of happened to look a little bit like Matt Smith. Did you notice that on Twitter? People talking about that?
I didn't, but and nor did I notice that myself. But I guess it's good that we got an explanation for that, because I imagine people would have been really bugged if that had just been like a random coincidence.
Yeah. The first, like, people were screen capping that, really being like, I thought that was Matt Smith for a moment, and it does look a lot like Matt Smith.
Well, yeah, and turns out that's intentional.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny.
Yeah. Well, and I like that the Doctor instantly assumes that that's who Clara is interested in, because that's kind of been the implication, is that they were like when he was Matt Smith, it was kind of like he was kind of her boyfriend, that kind of thing, and even as overt as basically directly stating it in Time of the Doctor, and so I think it's funny that he sort of thinks, oh, this must be him, or and you know what else? It kind of makes me wonder if maybe because the Doctor seems to have, especially in this incarnation, a lot of trouble with picking up on appearance things and stuff, but he seems to like hone right in on this guy who happens to look like Matt Smith. And I wonder if it's just he can only recognize himself and past versions of himself, and maybe that's the thing.
See, I guess I don't think he really has difficulty picking up on appearance stuff. I just think that he very specifically, whenever he's like saying stuff about Clara, he just wants to show her that he's not romantically interested in her.
Oh, I guess that could be.
Yeah, that's how I've been interpreting all of his negative comments about her appearance and stuff like that. Although I actually I did laugh at the one in this one where he said, like, "Oh, have you had a wash? Oh, you look good. Have you had a wash?" I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did think it was very I did think it was very amusing that he kind of just automatically assumed, and I like the line about someone who looks like a certain young time traveler, which was very funny given the circumstances. So.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the episode, like I loved this episode and I thought it was great, but there was one thing that I thought was very peculiar, and maybe I've been doing it wrong. I don't know, but in the beginning, or towards the beginning, there's kind of, when the Doctor is being secretive and telling Clara, "Oh, I'm going under deep cover," or whatever, and she's sort of suspicious, and so she's leaving the TARDIS, and then as she leaves, she does that, like, "I've got my eyes on you" kind of gesture. But it looks like she does it backwards, and what I mean by that is she points two fingers at him and then one finger at her face. And I thought it was supposed to be, because "I've got my eyes on you." I thought, like, you point two fingers at your face, then you point one finger at the person. Like, right?
Well, do you do this a lot?
I
Because you said you were worried you'd been doing it wrong. Do you do this a lot? Just out of curiosity.
Actually, it's been a while.
Because I don't think I've ever done it. Maybe I just don't have my eyes on people that much. Maybe I'm not, or maybe when I'm being observant like that, I don't want to let them know. I just want to be surreptitious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, I get you. I get that.
No, but I don't think I've ever used that gesture. So I don't know if I've ever had an opinion about what the correct protocol is. For order of pointing and number of fingers pointed in each direction.
Yeah, I guess, and really, if you just get the point across that, there are eyes involved and there is observing involved, that's really, you're 90% of the way there. Yeah, or I guess maybe she was gesturing to the Doctor to keep his eyes on her. Would that make sense? Like, you, like, leading by example, maybe, like saying, like, "Hey, straighten up and fly right like me. Like, is
that could be it too. I don't know.
No, I guess I don't know. No, it's no, it's a very good point. I don't do that very often. So I could indeed I could have some misconceptions about how this works.
You could. You really could.
I really could. And I should not be the one to cast the first stone here. This has almost nothing to do with the episode, but do you have any thoughts on what kind of spillage could happen in a geography class? Because that's what Courtney, is that her name? Courtney?
Yeah.
That's what Courtney says. She says there's been a spillage when she's looking for paper towels. She says there's a spillage in geography.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily have to be something related to geography. It could just be something else that's in the room that just spills.
I suppose so. But I mean, what? I can't think of any. I guess maybe it's like, I don't know, the teacher spilled his or her tea or something. I guess, or coffee or whatever. I guess that's what it could be. Because I mean, it'd make more. Actually, no, it wouldn't make more sense in like a chemistry class, because then you'd probably have to, like, depending on what the chemical was, you'd have to like use something more heavy duty than paper towels.
Mm.
Maybe there was no spill. Maybe Courtney just wanted paper towels for some other disruptive purpose.
Could be. It's all a ruse, a distraction.
Yes, I wouldn't put it past her.
Yeah, would they really send her? Is she so disruptive?
Yeah, that's the thing. If or maybe I don't know. It depends. I think it depends on the teacher too, though, because I feel like some teachers would just want to get that kind of student out of their hair, and just like sending them on any mission, like no matter what it is, just would sort of at least eliminate one problem from their whatever their attention. So like all right, well, I'll just send this student away, and even if they get into trouble, it's not my responsibility. I just sent them to get the paper towels. It's not my fault that they went and, I don't know, like threw a cherry bomb in the toilet or something. I don't know. Do kids still do that?
I don't know.
Did kids ever actually do that, or is that just something I've been told in popular media?
I think I wouldn't really know, because I've never witnessed it firsthand.
Well, right, me neither. So I don't know. That's just like,
I went to a small school though, so I didn't really have a good sample size.
Yeah. My school wasn't very large either, so in any case, it might have been but if you really have a spill and you really need it cleaned up, are you really gonna trust the troublemaker to do this and do this right? Like the Bart Simpson of your class, are you really gonna trust him?
Is that the popular media you're referring to, The Simpsons?
I feel like it might be. Bart had explosives, didn't he? Wasn't that?
I'm ashamed to say that I've actually never watched a single episode of The Simpsons.
Really?
That's correct. Not from start to finish. I mean, I've probably seen little bits and pieces of them, but.
Yeah. Well, I honestly have not watched The Simpsons in years, so I don't know if. I don't know. It could be that I just remember that and that was wrong. I do definitely recall Bart Simpson being a troublemaker, but I don't know if he made that much trouble. So I don't know. And actually come to think of it, that actually really might be where I'm getting that reference from, where I'm getting that cherry bomb reference. I don't know.
Well, that could be.
I think I'm gonna have to go watch The Simpsons.
I mean, I could, but I feel like where would I even start?
I would say season 2.
Just season 2?
Yeah, skip season 1. It's not worth it.
What about the
continuity?
Well, yeah. What about, no, I mean, like, and then where do I stop?
I think you'd be good. I want to say, I don't know, whatever season was airing in the late 90s. I think you're safe stopping around there.
Yeah, because I know that the popular narrative around the show is that it's it's absolute garbage now.
Yeah, and I haven't heard much about it, but yeah, that's my understanding as well.
I know. Alan Sepinwall disagrees with that, but
Well, wait. So how does he disagree? He disagrees that it's terrible now.
yeah, he says it's still pretty good and has some, and it still has the capacity to every year have like at least 3 or 4 absolutely great episodes. So that is what he has said. But I've never watched a single episode of The Simpsons, so I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. I have no framework for understanding this in any real way, but
Yeah, and I understand that.
well, I'm probably not going to.
Well, and that's fine too. That's fine too.
There are a lot of shows I've never seen. And many of them I never will. I've still never seen a complete episode of any Star Trek series.
Yeah. Is really like that's. Well, and that's the thing is, there's a lot of Star Trek that is not worth watching.
I've seen the J.J. Abrams movies.
Wait, how did you pronounce that?
J.J. Abrams?
Okay, yeah.
J.J. Abrams.
No, I understand. Yeah. I no, it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, and those movies are probably the. I won't utter that sentence.
No, you better not. Better back away slowly from that one.
I did think a lot of the stuff in this episode was pretty funny. I liked very early on the Doctor makes a passing mention to when he was living amongst otters because River and him were having a big fight.
That was funny. I'm glad we didn't get to see that.
What?
I'm glad we didn't get to see that.
Yeah, no,
a month of the Doctor living with otters doesn't sound like that interesting. Although it could be. But.
It could be. And when do you think this happened chronologically? Like, because in my mind, it would have to go in between the Angels Take Manhattan and the Snowman.
It could.
Like, right? Because they take off in the TARDIS together, and then the next time you see the Doctor by himself, and he's got a new outfit. So presumably his old outfit got ruined when he was with the otters.
Oh, that could be the case, yeah. Huh.
Right?
I never thought of that.
Yeah, this is my headcanon now.
We had to get ruined somehow. Might as well be otters. Well, I think the idea is that there are a lot of like Doctor and River encounters that happen like between adventures with Amy and Rory.
That's true.
During the long span of time where during like series 7A, when the Doctor is only occasionally meeting up with Amy and Rory.
That's true. So yeah, there is a lot of wiggle room where we could say that happened, and you know what, it's better that way,
I think so.
Yeah, leave it to the viewer's imagination on just where that otter month happened.
Leave it to otters.
Yes, I think my favorite part might have just been that little scene where Clara's yelling at the kids and the Doctor starts whistling another brick in the wall.
Yeah, that's funny.
I think that was a good little reference there.
Yeah, very subtle too.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you think that they got free from being tied up at the beginning of the episode?
That is a good question. I would say, you know what it probably was? It probably was a very similar situation to in Forest of the Dead, where the Doctor can suddenly reason with the Vashta Narada. I think he I think he reasoned with the sand piranhas or whatever they were.
Oh.
And I think maybe or maybe he tricked them into eating the chains.
Oh, ooh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe the chains were really all they wanted.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Right, it's like ancient medieval or whatever torture methods where they'll cover you with like honey or whatever and then send you out and then the insects get you or something. It's like the same thing that they'll chain you up with these chains and then the piranhas come.
Because they like chains so much.
That's right. They just love those chains.
We all know sand piranhas love to eat chains.
Right? I think that's widely accepted.
Well, that makes as much sense as anything else. What did you think of what's his name? Skovok's Blister? Is that his name?
I think Blitzer.
Oh, Blitzer, not Blister.
No.
This makes much more sense.
No, yeah. The Skovok's blister. That's another thing entirely. You need to go to your doctor and get some ointment for that.
Well, exactly. You need to go to the doctor.
That's right. Yeah, it all fits now. I thought it was. See, no, this is the thing is, whenever they sort of bring up like, oh, this is the most deadly killing machine in the universe. It'll kill the whole planet. Like I thought that wasn't that the Daleks. Like, you can't just be hyperbolic like this every time there's a threat to the Earth. You can't.
Well, sure he can. I mean, evidently he can.
Well, all right. But I mean, like, which one is it? Is it the Daleks or is it the Skovok Blisters?
They're all pretty deadly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say I thought the design was pretty cool and just a little bit creepy with the sort of crawling kind of like the four crawler legs or whatever. Those were kind of creepy looking, and it looked like a threat. Like I believed it. Whereas the Daleks are don't necessarily look as much of a threat as they actually are. This thing kind of looked the part, I felt.
It was the first appearance in quite some time of the actor who played it was Jimmy V.
Jimmy V?
Jimmy V. V-E-E.
Oh, okay.
And he's a very short man who played various monsters and aliens in the Russell T Davies era and also in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Ah.
Like he played the Mox of Balhoun in The End of the World.
Ah.
He played the pig in Aliens of London.
Ah.
He played Banacafalata in Voyage of the Damned. Yeah, as well as like the one he played a lot in Sarah Jane Adventures was the Grask.
Oh, yeah.
Like in Attack of the Grask, which is another Doctor Who thing, but
right.
also that appeared in Sarah Jane Adventures a lot. So,
interesting.
But yeah, and this is his first time appearing since quite a while ago.
Oh, well, that's nice. It's nice to get him back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I thought it was the Skovok's Blitzer himself though was a little. There wasn't that much to the character or anything. It was just like I would consider it a character.
All right.
It was just there to be like a generic menace that they had to deal with.
Well, right. Well, and I assumed it was just like your generic, like it was like almost like a more advanced war machine, you know? Like it seemed like it wasn't so. I mean, or at least I got the opinion that it was if there was an organic component, it was a small part of it, and that the majority of it was basically a robot that was just like a killing machine.
Well, it can still be a character.
That's fair. I don't want to be prejudiced against androids or
Chameleon was a character.
You're absolutely right. Chameleon was a character, and I feel terrible. I feel terrible.
You should feel pretty terrible.
I do. I can't believe that I implied that Chameleon was not a character.
Yes, I can't believe that either. No, I thought it was just kind of like a generic, stand-in for villain. Threat, because it wasn't the important thing in the episode. Kind of like how I felt like the Cybermen were in Closing Time.
Yeah. They were definitely secondary. And it was just supposed. Yeah, I would say it serves its function in this episode well for just being a generic threat. That is definitely deadly. And it doesn't. I don't. Yeah, I wasn't thinking like, oh, this thing is really evil. This is really, this wants to, conquer the universe or whatever. Like, I never got like a sense that it had any motivation other than just generic seek, destroy, kill, whatever. So yeah, I don't know if it was supposed to come across as having its own ambitions and stuff, but it certainly didn't for me. Yeah, it kind of just did seem like a generic sort of threat thing, kind of like how. I guess kind of like how in the Lodger that was kind of a generic threat, or it was definitely something that was causing problems, I guess.
Yeah, even though it did turn out to be the Silence or something related to the Silence, or we don't really know.
Right? Because that was definitely that was definitely at the very least implied, and I feel like it might have been directly stated in like a little offhand bit of dialogue, like, "Oh, this is that," or something like that. I don't remember.
Are you looking forward to Kill the Moon?
You know, I am, and I don't know. It looks like it's seriously gonna be about killing the moon. Like,
I don't know what Kill the Moon really means. Like, what do they mean, kill the moon? Are they gonna blow it up? Is that
well, right? Like
maybe?
like that's. I mean, right? Like, I mean, you know, you sort of like the expression, you know, like kill the lights or whatever, you know.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You're turning off the light. You're gonna turn off the moon by blowing it up.
Well, maybe they will.
Well, yeah, and you know, kind of looks like it's happening in the future. I'm assuming because there's like an actual moon base.
Right.
So I don't know. Well, we do not. Has it been established in canon whether or not the future Earth has a moon? Like,
yeah. At various points, it does indeed have a moon.
Okay. So could we pinpoint what the latest reference is, so that like anytime after that, or is it?
I'm sure someone could.
Or does it still have the moon in the end of the world?
You know, I don't know.
So, because if the moon is missing there, then you know I think this could explain where it went. Well, and I guess I'm just asking this so that I can know if the stakes are real, like if there's really a risk we're about to see the moon get blown up.
Well, I mean, real? I don't think the real moon is going to really get blown up.
You don't think that the BBC has it in their budget to actually blow up the moon as part of a publicity tie-in with Kill the Moon?
Probably not.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
I'm excited to see it though, because especially because it's a new writer, Peter Harness, who hasn't written for the show before. So I'm interested to see whether he's a good writer or a bad writer.
Yeah,
I hope he's not a bad writer.
Yeah, because that would be real unfortunate. Because we haven't really had a bad episode yet.
Not this season, no.
Well, yeah.
Not in either of our opinions, but
yes, true. I'm sure.
I'm sure there are some people out there who have hated all of them.
Yes. I'm sure someone has found some reason to hate this season. I don't doubt
Joyless people.
Yes.
People who hate fun and adventure.
Exactly. Those types of people.
But yeah, the writer lineup for the rest of the season is well, there's 6 episodes left. 1 by Peter Harness, 2 by Jamie Matheson, 1 by Frank Cottrell Boyce, all of whom are new writers. And then there's the 2-part finale by Stephen Moffat. So.
Oh, wow. So this will be a very interesting rest of the season.
I think so, yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of funny how, maybe not funny, but it's been nice how strongly this season has been so far. Like how strong it is, I guess. And so,
well,
I don't know.
I actually think a major part of the reason it's been so strong is because Stephen Moffat has taken such a hand in it. Like, he has written or co-written all but 1 of the episodes.
Right.
Robot of Sherwood, which Mark Gatiss wrote, is the only one where Moffat wasn't credited as a writer.
Huh. Interesting.
So, are we about to see a nosedive?
Could be.
Could be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the season was maybe a little less consistent.
Yeah.
With Moffat taking less of a role, but I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I guess we will. We did get another heaven scene this episode.
We did a heaven scene.
Yes.
In the nether sphere.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Was it the first time it's been called that on screen?
I believe that's the first time it's been called that, but I think it was something that you could kind of infer from the fact that Missy was originally announced as gatekeeper of the nether sphere.
Right.
Or at least I had inferred that. I suppose it's not necessarily something you would have to infer, but
yeah,
it's I thought it was a good guess.
Yes, we all have inference free will.
Yes,
we can all infer what we like,
or refuse to infer.
Right,
we would rather not.
But yeah, I think I thought that too, where I kind of assumed that this was the Nether Sphere. Well, and I kind of wonder what the Nether Sphere actually is. Like, I mean,
I have a feeling we won't find out for quite a while.
no, probably not. Well, and that's kind of the thing is what I'm interested in is, you know, what it has been is, these characters have died, and they've gone to this place, this Nether Sphere, and I kind of wonder is I want to know what the mythology is here. I want to know, and I guess maybe I'm hoping that this is where they're going with this, that they're going to explain everything. But you know, I kind of want to know, is this implied that this is what always happens when people die, or is this a new thing? Is this something that has changed since something or something, you know?
Well,
like,
I don't know. I mean, my working hypothesis after Into the Dalek, which was the last time we saw Missy and Heaven, my hypothesis was that it was only people who had died willingly at the behest of the Doctor.
oh, right.
Because I forgot the name of the soldier who did that, but she had done so. And then there was the implication that the half-faced man from Deep Breath might have done so. Whereas I don't think there's any way you could interpret what happened to the police officer in this episode as being that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that sort of breaks the chain there, the pattern.
Thing.
Yeah, so it implies that, you know, this is just, you die, this is where you go, yeah, I don't know.
I think it actually is going to ultimately have something to do with the fact that these are tied to the Doctor in some way.
Well, yeah, it does seem that way. Well, and that would make sense from a narrative standpoint. Although, you know, I imagine just in general, the Doctor does give them a lot of business. Like there's a lot of people who come in there having known or been somehow related to the Doctor. And I wonder if Missy is forming her opinions of the Doctor solely based on this sort of, you know, secondhand information she gets from the people who die. Like, but well, that's probably not really true. But I don't know. It's interesting to think about what this looks like from the Nether Sphere's perspective. Like what do they actually know about the Doctor? And, you know, I don't know. They must think something.